Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organisation Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with expert knowledge from professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Joustra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Gabriella Joustra. My guest today will be talking about the challenges of disorganization for people with ADHD. Hi, how are you?
Oh, hi, Gabriella. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Good to see you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Well, my name's Carolyn Verhoef. I am a certified organizer coach. I'm also an associate certified coach with the International Coaching Federation and an expert accredited professional organizer with the Institute of Professional Organizers. I've been specializing in the area of organization for ADHD for around 3-4 years now, and have been working as a professional organizer for 15 years. So loving all the things that I do. It's a very much a passion job for me, and I'm so glad to be able to share some more with your audience about organization for ADHD.
Great. Can you tell me a bit about organization for people with ADHD, and also maybe just a brief intro of what you do?
Yeah. So let's start with a little bit of explanation of how I got to be specialising with ADHD, because that might actually paint some of the picture.
Yeah.
So I started organising with people around paperwork and that sort of thing first up, and there was, sort of found particular ways that really worked for people. And paperwork's one of those really complex things to organise, as you might realise yourself. And that goes into digital world. But as I started doing that, I started to develop sort of what works for most people. And not having an admin background or anything like that to overshadow my thinking processes, I came up with a few really tried and tested things. And then as I started studying in the area of complex disorganization and chronic disorganization, the ADHD element really sort of stood out to me as something that I was really interested in finding out more of, what's important for someone with ADHD. And what I discovered is a lot of what I developed actually was exactly the kinds of organising that an ADHD person would find a better format and a better approach than some of the traditional formats. Like, anyone listening with ADHD would go, everyone has said to them, make a list. It's not just about making a list, because you lose the list and then you have 100 lists and you have 50,000 books with lists in them and you can never find any of those. Or you might have 50,000 apps with lists in them and never find them as well. So that's how I came to that. So the approach for my assistance for people with ADHD and organisation is very much steeped in what is their strength and how can we pull that strength out to get better organised in a very much a unique way for them. But that doesn't mean that I can give you all lots of different ways to tips and things that you can try out to see if they work for you. So it's very much going along a logic pathway that goes into how you work. So that's my approach with clients, and very much along those lines, which is where a lot of my ADHD clients find they fall into is too much complexity. I strip all complexity out, and the simpler our organisation is, the better it works. And that's the real basis of what we do, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And what are the challenges that people with ADHD have with organizing? So you're saying they tend to lose their lists and that simple is better?
Yes. So the challenges people with ADHD have with organisation is they actually have less data to work with in the immediate moment. That doesn't say that someone with ADHD can't get organised. It doesn't say that ADHD means that you're less intelligent. Not at all. I actually always say all my ADHD clients are way smarter than me. But it's not about that. It's, have you got the access to the steps and the sequence of those steps right now when you need it with this particular organising task? Because that is the true definition. With the lack of executive functioning in the moment, doesn't mean you don't have executive functioning in the moment, is pulling in all this information from your surrounding area on what it is you're doing, and then accessing the long-term memory to go, oh yeah, that worked last time. Oh yeah, that's right, this step is the better step for this now. That is the sequencing that is a little more clunky. That's probably a better way to say it, for someone with ADHD when they're trying to get organised.
So we've sort of gone through a bit of a definition now. So we're just going to do the rapid fire questions.
Oh, sure.
So
I have to get my cheat sheet for this because I don't have favourites, so it's good.
Well, maybe I won't do favourite. I'll do like, you know, what book are you reading at the moment?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, what book are you reading at the moment?
So the book I'm reading at the moment, I'm trying to remember what the title is. That's embarrassing, isn't it? See, everyone loses capacity to remember things straight away, because I had another book in mind.
Or do you want to talk about that book instead?
Yeah, let me talk about the book that I recommend to every single person that's trying to get organised at the moment. So, and I think everybody on the planet should read this book. It's actually brilliant, and it's Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It is, it really brings things into perspective. When you think everything is important in front of you and you can't prioritize, and that's classic ADHD, essentialism is an approach I think is brilliant to take on, and it really gets you to think about, is this thing I'm doing right now contributing to my highest contribution to the world? So you're putting things in this much larger perspective rather than the minute, the small, and it really gets your priorities very, very clear. So I love this book. It's fantastic.
Sounds like what I need. I tend to be overwhelmed by everything I need to do right now.
Yeah, read it, Gabriella. It's fabulous. Yeah.
So the next question is there like a movie or a documentary that you've watched recently or that you enjoyed?
I had to, I really, I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen Octopus is My Teacher? Or My Octopus Teacher, that's what it's called. My Octopus Teacher. It is another incredible documentary, incredibly engaging. You're not just on the journey of what he's discovering with this octopus, but his own self-discovery in learning from the octopus. It is just fabulous. A must watch.
I have heard of it, but I haven't watched it, so I think I'll need to watch that tonight.
Yeah, it is fabulous. You get so much out of that one as well.
Is there a course that you've completed recently?
There's lots of different things I do, very regular, little things I do. But I guess the course that the two courses that I'm most passionate to talk about is mental health first aid. I'm a mental health first aid accredited person. And I think, again, it is something that if we all had this knowledge, our entire community would be a better place. It really equips you with being able to address a situation, when it might happen in the aisle in the supermarket where you see someone not coping, perhaps having an episode, and knowing what you need to do to get that person to some aid. Just like first aid is for, injuries, mental health first aid is the same. It's just about having enough information to get them to the right kind of help. And, it's amazing that so many people are first aid trained, but there are more people with instances of mental health challenges day to day than there is ever with someone, having an accident. So it seems logical we should all have mental health first aid.
So is that something is that a 1 or 2 day course that you would do with first aid?
It's with Mental Health First Aid Australia. The course goes for 12 hours if you're in person. You can do a blended online course, which is fabulous. I actually run the mental health first aid training with professional organisers every quarter in our industry, so that they get really specific examples in a professional organiser situation to deal with challenges with their clients. And the blended course is about 5 to 8 hours e-learning, and it's really good e-learning. It's not boring. And then 2.5 hour live trainer sessions with a certified mental health first aid trainer. And totally invaluable for all of us. Yeah, it's a fabulous, fabulous course.
That sounds so interesting. I think I've always wanted to do first aid, and now I think I want to do both of them.
Yeah. I would do mental health first aid over, any of those.
I don't know. I'm just very clumsy. I seem to always be cutting my hands when I'm cooking.
That's a personal thing.
That's a personal thing. My brother's a nurse, and a couple times I've had to call him, help, what do I do?
Yeah, maybe that one is more important for you.
Yeah. And anything else that you'd like to talk about with the questions?
I guess that probably some of the other things that I love that I like to share with my clients and other people in my community is using apps for practicing mindfulness is a huge one. It's really good for people with ADHD. I know everyone with ADHD goes, I can't meditate, I can't do that. It's too hard. There's too much going on in my head. And I think, if you get the right perspective around what mindfulness is and meditation is, you can do it with, lots going on in your head. It's about the practice of bringing your attention from one thing that you're not supposed to be putting your mind to at that moment and bringing it back to the attention of what you're doing right now. So some very active styles of mindfulness are very, very beneficial. So there's great apps out there that can do that for you. So that would be my other favourite thing to do. I do that every morning with my dog. He loves it. And that would be my other favourite thing and most enjoyable thing for, ongoing improvement of everything for people to look at.
Is there a particular app that you would recommend for that?
So the one that I use is a auditory style of like a sound meditation mindfulness app, and it's called Sync Tuition. I am an so in my work, I use what we call processing modality profiles to help people find their strengths. And one of my talents is auditory processing. So, which is great that I'm in this kind of work because I get to listen to people all day long. So that really works for me because it's auditory. So find one that matches your style. So if you're very much a visual person, find something that's visual to meditate to or do mindfulness to. Don't feel like you have to shut your eyes to do these. That's just the traditional way people have, you've got to shut your eyes and think of nothing, and that's mindfulness. No, it's not actually. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I would, when I occasionally think about, should I meditate? And that's what I do. I don't think it's very effective, so maybe I should try something else.
More active. So it's the practice of bringing your attention back and noticing that it goes away. That is the practice of mindfulness. It's not the act of, you are you're being mindful and you're meditating because you are paying single attention only. It takes years to develop. It is about noticing your attention has gone and then bringing it back and just doing it over and over. And that muscle gets stronger and stronger. It's like going to the gym. That muscle just gets stronger and stronger the more you do it.
Okay, I'll have to give that a go. So why is reducing disorganization important for people with ADHD?
Yeah. So, I mean, someone with ADHD, even someone that's just disorganized, will tell you why it's important. But I think it needs deeper investigation than the surface stuff. And I think everyone agrees that we would all benefit from minimizing disorganization. But there are a few really additional reasons for ADHDers for why it's important. We know from research that reducing disorganization and clutter actually improves our mood. So if we can be in a better mood most of the time, we're actually more hopeful, more able to find motivations to do things that are, perhaps boring, perhaps not so much fun. Another very important part is that the reduction of clutter actually lowers our anxiety. We know that. And it lowers our stress response from being overactive. So these are very, concrete things that we do know. It improves our ability to focus. Now, that's really important for our ADHD people because they already are battling with the, challenges of self-regulation being not as easily accessed. So an ability to focus just by reducing the amount of items in your immediate area is going to be really great, and having less distractions. This is something I really see a lot, is that when we start reducing that disorganization, is the person themselves gets a greater sense of agency. And it's sense of agency over their whole life, and their home. So, I'm sure you feel the same. It's like when things are all over the place, you feel all over the place.
And definitely.
Yeah. So, that sense of agency, of control is really important to us all. We want to feel in control of our life and our environment. A huge one that most of the ADHD people listening will identify with is that they will use visual reminders much more than anyone else, because it's the thing that they can only rely on, because they won't particularly be able to rely on their own memory at that particular time. Doesn't mean they don't have a good memory. I like to enforce that in people. It just means in that exact moment, your memory's not working for you when you need it. The filing cabinet is shut and you can't see the labels, basically. So when we have less clutter around and more organisation, those visual reminders are much more prevalent, and you can see what's important to you and what you need to do next. So they're the key ones. Yeah.
That makes sense. I was talking to a friend who does have ADHD, and they were saying that one of the ways that they cope with, stay organized is they have to have things out in the open for them to see. So they've got drawers labeled with everything that's supposed to be in there, or they've got transparent boxes.
Yes. And I think the thing I was saying at the beginning is also it is unique to everybody. So some people have a very high visual intolerance, so the clear boxes actually make more noise. So you have to be really careful that you're doing your organisation to your needs, your uniqueness. So it does work for a lot of people, but not everybody, just to put that in there.
So if that would create too much visual stimulus, I guess, what would you recommend instead?
Yeah, so a client at the moment that we found this to be very true is so she's got these beautiful glass-fronted pantry doors, and so when you look into the pantry, you see everything, which is great. If that's what you need to remind you, fabulous. But actually, for her, she is that type that too much visual stimulation actually just makes everything shut down. So you can't change the pantry, it's a built-in kitchen, that's ridiculous. So we put everything in lovely glossy white boxes and just a label, a beautiful label, and they were all uniform. So you can imagine if your pantry doors were glass and you could see everything inside, all the different packet colours, all the different fonts on all the different packets. How much information is that? It's huge information. So we quietened it all down with the white and the proper labels, zoned the pantry so it made sense to her. So that's how you do it.
So what are some misconceptions about disorganization for people with ADHD?
I think the big ones and perhaps the most damaging ones, because it becomes the way you think about everything, is that I have ADHD, so I can't be organised. In my experience, totally untrue. And if it was true, why would I be working in this field for so long? And why would there be so many other fabulous professional organisers out there doing the same thing? So it can't be true. And, the other fact is that there are some really amazingly successful people in the world that have ADHD. I don't know if you know some of them. No,
could you?
Yeah, I'll share some with you.
Share some? Yeah, thank you.
Most famously, Richard Branson. How successful is Richard Branson? Now, come on. It's not like that organisation is the solution to everything, but you need some of it in order to succeed. John F. Kennedy, Bill Gates, Emma Watson, the actress,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know any of them, but I
There
think
you
that
go.
that one surprises me the most.
Yeah. Astronaut Scott Kelly, Pulitzer Prize winner Catherine Ellison, and there's so many more.
Mm.
Lots and lots and lots.
And
So, yeah.
I was going to say, do you think that they get a lot of help, or do you think that they've just learned how to manage it themselves?
I think um, I think the main thing is embracing the gifts of ADHD. You know, we're talking about one of the negatives of ADHD right now, but I really want to emphasize there is a lot of gifts for ADHD as well. And those are creativity, the ability to see so many different elements at once and how they all connect. I see that in a lot of my clients. And for someone like Richard Branson, Bill Gates, John F. Kennedy, especially, that gift, they've just embraced it and seen how it works for them. And, you know, then it is about, finding, they always, Richard Branson always wasn't a billionaire. Come on. So he couldn't have had people doing things for him the whole time. But I'm sure he has a lot of support these days. But yeah, it's about using those gifts and then finding a way forward with your best way to be organized at the same time. Yeah.
So you mentioned, some gifts that people with ADHD have. Do you use them in your work with them?
Definitely. When I was saying before, the strengths, you know, they're the gifts. So we use, you know, particular interests that are, incredibly important to that person to be able to help them get to where they want to with their organization. You know, quite a few of my clients with ADHD are creatives. So we use that creative flair within the organization of their home and life. So, yeah, definitely, we want to amplify those gifts as much as possible. There isn't really much benefit in focusing on the weakness, which is disorganization. There's no benefit to that. Let's focus on what are you good at? What are you really strong at? Let's amplify that and how that can be related to this particular function you want to get done.
So how does reducing disorganization contribute to a better home environment?
So we talked a little bit about the great things about being organized at the start. I think what I next want to sort of focus on is how in the home environment, when it's disorganized, there's actually a lot of stress for you in, trying to find what you want, trying to, do the things you need to do. But there actually is a lot of relationship stress that comes. And if we're talking about the home environment that you share with other people, I do see a lot of relationship stress, and that goes far beyond, just having a neat pantry. It goes, into how you feel about yourself and your place in, in being loved and loving others. So it's just a much huger conversation than just the space itself. So, you can imagine, I'm sure, Gabriella, the conversations that go in your head, or even the verbal conversations that come out of your mouth when you are late and you're trying to find your keys, or you're, traveling and you've lost your passport. What is going on inside you then?
Just frustration, just like, I just have to have this thing and I can't leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that happened to me the other day.
There you go.
So I'm really
It's very
feeling
common.
it. Yeah, I mean, it's very common. I think just not leaving the house during lockdown has meant I don't notice where my keys are anymore. And I'm like trying to
Mm,
find my keys everywhere in the house. And
mm. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. So the
yeah,
conversations, why can't I find my keys? I'm so
yeah.
stupid. You moved them, isn't it?
Or
There's
my
a
partner
whole heap
who,
of blame,
yeah, my
isn't there?
partner also loses their keys a lot. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, we have to leave, we have to go. And he's like, I have to find my keys. And I'm like, why don't you leave your keys where you can find them?
That's right. So it's the relationship stress. You
Yeah,
can imagine that on a much bigger scale every day with everything.
yeah.
And then the late bills come and there's financial stress as well.
Mm.
So I think that, it plays a massive part in how it has a better home environment. It's not just the way it looks and the functionality of doing what you need to do, but having a much more, even if you live alone, it's a calmer relationship with yourself. Because if you live alone, you blame yourself. I'm so stupid. Why can't I put things where I said I was going to put them? Why don't I remember anything? And it's let's beat up me, game, how can I beat up myself even more? So I think that's a better home environment when we have less relationship stress. Um, and the other one that goes sort of unseen is the financial capacity in the home. So this is bigger than what I think people first see. I mean, people do see themselves going, I can't find my scissors. So when I'm at the shops, guess what? I buy another pair of scissors. And, you know, every time there's something you can't find, you buy another one. That's financial loss every single time. So that plays a huge impact over time and as it builds up and builds up. And we know from, all of the, Australian Bureau of Statistics and everyone that besides organizational stress, financial stress is like the number one thing in households that people worry about. And when disorganization is causing some of that financial stress where it's actually possible for it not to, I think that's a big win we can take hold of and run with. So I think those two are bigger players than we think with disorganization.
Yeah, I had never thought about the financial aspects. I mean, sort of thought, oh, you forget to pay your bills.
Mm,
That's an obvious stressor or something.
mm,
Your electricity gets turned off.
yeah.
That would be pretty stressful.
Yes.
But yeah, I hadn't thought about having to buy things because you can't
Find them.
find them. And then I guess that contributes to the disorganization because then instead of
Yep.
one pair of scissors, you've got 10 pair of scissors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I have seen it over and over, found 20 calculators. Now, who needs 20 calculators? And just stuff like that, just over and over, just repeated items purchased that weren't needed. Yeah.
Do you find some of the more modern inventions have helped with this? For example, like instead of using calculators, now you can use your
Mm-hmm.
phone. And if you
Mm-hmm.
lose your phone, you can ring your phone.
Mm-hmm. It's reduced one kind of disorganization or replaced it with another.
Okay.
So the disorganization that happens on your phone with the thousands of apps available and then trying out thousands of apps to see if they work for you and then not really finding the app that you wanted that you downloaded that you can't remember the name of and you spent 4 hours of your life trying to figure out how it works and putting all your data in to help you organize your finances or whatever it is. It's still disorganization. It's still clutter. It's still disorganization. It's just in a cloud somewhere.
You still have to look at it when you look at your phone.
Yeah, and it's still not helping you do what you want to do. It's still clutter. It's still disorganization that is impacting you. It's fun. Look, I have to say, I really don't mind how many pairs of scissors, calculators, apps someone has. It's none of my business, really. But if it's stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve and do what you want to do, something's wrong. It's not working for you. And that's when we look at it. So I'm never going to tell anyone they need to throw out something or, put on and buy nothing if they truly see the need to have it. But when it gets in the way, that's when, because that's what we're there for, is to help people live their lives fully. But if stuff is getting in the way, stuff, then, let's get real and find what amount of stuff is going to work for you.
So what's the process to figure out what you need and what you don't need, and then I guess to get rid of what you don't need?
Very tricky question.
Or I guess at least some beginning steps or something.
Yeah. So decluttering's not easy, which is, I suppose we can put reducing disorganization into that sort of category. It seems like an easy task, but in fact it's not that easy. It becomes more challenging for someone with ADHD, especially because of what we were talking about before. They need a visual cue to remind themselves that that's something that's important to them and something they want to do or have to do. So, but then we have another part of that, which is some people with ADHD have a much bigger, what's the right word? Challenge with object permanence. So object permanence is knowing why we do those things, having attachment to a thing to tell us to do something really quite easily. So when you don't have that, you use the visual cues to remind you what's important to you. So that creates more clutter, because now I need a reminder of everything. So I guess it's really important to start with understanding what it is you want to do and what is important to you. What is it that is really important to your life, your goals? Getting clear on goals is a huge thing that I do with ADHD clients, because they see possibility in everything, most of them. They see possibilities in everything, which is a gift. That's the gift I was talking about. That's a gift. But when you see possibilities in everything, you then put the same importance on everything. And that's where we get into trouble. So honing that importance, I think that's the first step, is actually sitting back and thinking about what it is you really want. Where am I going? Where is the end goalpost here? So that you have this clear direction to anchor yourself every time. So when you see all the possibilities, you can go, oh, is that possibility actually going towards that goal? Maybe not. And that's why the book Essentialism is so fantastic, because that's exactly what it does. It hones you, gives you a way to hone. So clearing away what's unimportant and not valuable is the first step. But you need to know what that is first. So that's where I think people want to get active, especially people with the hyperactive style of ADHD. is they feel like they're doing activity, I'm moving stuff, everything is starting to go into categories that's actually getting them somewhere, but it's actually just moving the mess because they haven't got that clear goal of where they're going first. So that's the first step. I think there's great value for people with ADHD to, they almost need to see, and this is not just ADHD, by the way, they need to see the amount of stuff in that category all at once. So not just seeing a pair of scissors in the kitchen, a pair of scissors in the study, a pair of scissors in the bathroom, 5 pairs of scissors, next to the craft chair or whatever. They all just seem sensible. But when you see 20 pairs of scissors together, that doesn't seem sensible. Would you agree?
I think a lot of pair of scissors is good. No, I think 20 pairs is probably too many. Like 10 pairs would be good.
10? Wow. Okay, that's generous. Good.
I do sewing, so.
Yes. Well, then there's all the different types of
just,
scissors, isn't there? Yeah, so you've got to justify all the different types of scissors then.
Yes. I've got the pinking shears, I've got the sewing scissors, I've got the clippers, and then I got the
unpicking scissors. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But when you see the same item all together in that, you go, oh, well, that doesn't seem sensible anymore. But individually, it does seem sensible. So, so that is a real advantage to be able to do that. But you know what? Most of us don't have the time or the amount of energy resources to do that kind of organising and decluttering, where you bring everything at once together. So that's what you see in the TV shows, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Mary Kondo show?
Yep.
Yeah.
One of my favourites is Space Invaders on Australian Channel 9 TV. But they have a massive team of people doing that. There's about 20 people behind the scenes doing that. So most of us don't have that ability for time, and we've got to go to work. We've got to do other things in our life, not just empty our house. And so because we don't have that capability, most of us, doing things in chunking down is the best way, I feel. So that is the sort of second, third part of this, is chunk down the tasks into the pieces you can do. So doing one drawer in the kitchen and just doing those really small chunks. And that also helps our people with ADHD because there's less overwhelm. And you mentioned it before, Gabriella, that sense of overwhelm when you're trying to start finding something. So chunking down into just 10-minute blocks is my suggestion. And that has transformed the lives of hundreds and thousands of our clients, is that chunking down is revolutionary to them, that they can achieve this in the small pieces of time. Because I'm sure if I asked you, Gabriella, do you have 10 minutes to, focus on sorting out something? Could you find 10 minutes today to do that?
Yes, I could.
Yeah. If I asked you to find an hour today to do that, could you find an hour?
No.
No, exactly, right? But what happens if you did 10 minutes every single day this week? How much time will you have spent organising or decluttering?
So 70 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah.
When was the last time you spent 70 minutes organising or decluttering?
Probably a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, you good girl. But
Oh, no, we just had a massive mess that
a
needed to be
massive
cleaned up.
There you go. So, but how often does that happen then?
No, not very often.
There you go. So if you just spent 10 minutes every day, that's 70 minutes every week. How much time is that over a month?
I'm not good at math, so I'm not going to try.
A lot. Let's say a lot.
It's many minutes,
Right?
many hours. Yeah.
Many hours. So you can see the power of just 10 minutes.
So my question is, I sort of tried this a couple months ago. I wrote down a list of like things that I'd noticed around the house that didn't take a lot of time to do, but needed to be done, like wipe the windowsills down when they're dusty. That doesn't take much time. And I did that for about a month. And then I got a bit more busy and I just stopped doing it. So what happens if you were really good for a month, but then, you just lose interest or you lose focus?
Yep.
How do you combat that?
Yeah, so this is really common for ADHD people because they get really enthusiastic and, it becomes the topic of interest for the month. And then the system totally falls apart or the interest totally falls away. So, what I am gathering that's happening for you, and also I know happens for my clients, is that that's a good thing to do and it saves energy and time, but it's not enough reason. You're only doing it because you think it's going to advantage you in the future, but you don't know yourself in the future. Do you know what you're going to think and feel 3 months from now? No.
Not a clue.
Exactly. So you're banking on that. It's something you have no idea about. So that's why it stops. So what we need to do is actually what we were talking about before. We need to attach those tasks, whatever they are, to something that means a lot more to you. That it is part of your greater goal, greater motivations. So some people are shocked when I say this, but I don't organise because of the joy of organising. It's boring, people. Sorry. I know you don't want to hear this on the podcast, but it's actually boring. No one wants to do it. But you know why I do it all the time and make it my key thing that I do? I know that if I put that thing away now, instead of leaving it out, I will have more time for the thing I really love to do. But I'm really connected to the thing I really love to do. I really know I want to do that thing I want to do, not just free time. Because we never have free time. When have you had free time? I'm going to do that when I got some spare time.
Just during the lockdowns, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Perth, so I haven't experienced it at all.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes, that was a very odd situation for many people. I have a lot of clients over in the eastern states, so got a lot of people who did experience it in my client cohort. But I don't organise because I love it. I organise because I want to do that thing that isn't organising. So I know I'm buying my time to do the thing I love. Every time I do something that keeps things working smoothly and makes things easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, so like I'm not part of me doesn't want to clean like the windowsills because I'm just like I'm doing this instead of reading a book for 10 minutes.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and my immediate person, who I am right now, would rather read my book for 10 minutes rather than
Exactly.
clean the windowsills. And, Gabriella in 2 weeks can worry about cleaning the windowsills, which has just
Yes.
happened for like 6 months now. So, and I understand technically that I would be saving time,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like that at the moment.
Yes.
So, how do I convince myself that I would save myself time?
So probably clean the windowsills is probably not an ideal topic to work this
Okay,
around, because cleaning the windowsills doesn't impact your life. It's just cleaning.
true.
And, this is something else I usually promote to my clients as well, is that, if that's something you really don't like doing and it costs you too much, soul energy to do, get someone else to do it. So I would get a cleaner personally.
Yeah.
But because they have got a motivation. It's called an income.
Sorry, that was a bad example. Maybe, I guess tidying up the sewing room.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, that's a much
actually,
better example.
I'm very good at tidying up the sewing room,
Yes.
actually.
So why? Why are you good at tidying up the sewing room, Gabriella? This
Oh,
is
it's so
this
much
is the
easier just
answer.
to access everything.
There you go. Because
Yeah.
you are attached to what it is you want to do, so you do it. The thing that's boring, and see what you've
Yeah.
just proved my point.
Yep. I totally see it now.
Yeah. So you need to find that thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I say, is that it's organizing, not tidying, not cleaning. Organizing is completely different to both of those subjects.
I have to find someone to interview for tidying and cleaning then.
Yes. I mean, cleaning and tidying is easier when you're organized.
Definitely.
It's
Yeah.
so much easier. There's actually a bit of research out many, many years ago. I don't know if anyone's redone anything to find out more, but they found that an organized home took 40% less time to clean.
Wow. That's a
So
lot of
there's a
time.
motivation
Yeah.
to organize. Is that, the horrible part, cleaning part, is going to take me less time. So you can switch it around like that,
Yeah. So how do you turn organization into a habit? Oh, I suppose we've already done that, turning it into 10-minute chunks.
I can tell you more about that though, specifically for ADHD, because creating a habit is actually not as easy for someone with ADHD as it is for everybody else. And it's hard for everybody else as well. So, it's not an easy one. But I've had great success with clients who said, there's no way I can build a habit. It's just impossible for me. Like, they were dead set that there was no habit that they could actually faithfully instill in themselves. And I'll give you what I did with them when it worked. So the reason it's not, first of all, the reason it's not easy is that, number one, most people rely on willpower or rewards to develop a habit. In my experience, and much of the research out there says that won't work. And so many times clients come to me and go, I just need you to help me develop more discipline. And I go, nah, discipline's got nothing to do with it. So we need to find the other way around that. So we can use a couple of good techniques. the first one is what I call habit stacking. And this is well-known theory out there as well. So habit stacking is finding even the most simplest of thing that you faithfully do and stick another action on top of it that brings a cue for the habit you want to install. So I'll give you an example of the client that said she could never do it. So the client faithfully every day, even though she didn't do other things every day, made a cup of coffee at the same time, right? And the habit we wanted to instill was emptying the dishwasher. It never got emptied. It was always like, oh, I've got dirty dishes, but the dishwasher's full of clean dishes, right? This is very common for everybody. It's nothing unusual. So the coffee machine, which was really great, was actually right next to the dishwasher. So what we did is we habit stacked making coffee with dishwashing emptying. So when she went to make the coffee, I did this with her in a body double situation. So depends on the person. I can explain body doubling later. I sat there and she made her coffee and I got her to say, okay, I'm making coffee. The next step is empty the dishwasher. I'm making coffee. The next step is emptying the dishwasher. And we did this, like, you know, talking herself into saying, well, once I've made a coffee, the next step is emptying the dishwasher. And you do that about 6 times and you've pretty much created a stack because she's always going to make a cup of coffee. So we're not relying on the habit to be the cue. We're relying on the thing she already does to be the cue. And still to this day, she makes a cup of coffee. She can't help but think about the dishwasher. So that's how you stack. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that does. What's body doubling?
Yeah, so body doubling is a very, very important part of my role, but also a part of people with ADHD needing to get anything done that's quite intense or long term or goes against their sort of mood at the time or strengths. So body doubling is not so much having someone do something for you. It's about someone being there as a witness to create the space so you can do the thing you want to do. So in organising, and this happens nearly every single time I'm with someone, is that the fact that you're here has put me into action. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. Just being there, knowing that I'm there, helps them move forward on that action. So the client I was just talking about, I buddy double her on Zoom. She's in another state, nowhere near me. And we can still have this very successful productivity and her getting organised because she knows I'm just there. I'm there. So this is another getting better known strategy. There's even body doubling services out there online where if you need to study for an exam, you can have someone there on Zoom sitting with you just to be there as a witness.
It sort of reminds me of like studying in groups.
Yeah.
Like meeting, people in a library or something and, agreeing to
you're
study
working on
together.
your own thing. But
yeah, you're
yes.
not working together. But
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's something about having someone else present that helps you focus.
So with studying in a library, I would often get distracted by the other people who are there.
Yeah.
Does that not happen?
So that's why you need a professional body doubler, I guess.
Okay,
if
someone who'll keep
distraction,
you.
Yes,
focused.
that's right. They're not there to interrupt or help you do the task. They're there to open the space so the task is able to be done. So it's empowering. It's not taking power away. So with my organising clients, of course, they'll go, what would you do with this, blah, blah, blah. And I give options if it's an organising task. But, even a phone call that they know is coming will help them be able to get into action.
Like a checkup call?
Yes. Yeah, I do check-in calls, with the clients. And even that is something that helps them move into that action. Yeah.
So is that like a deadline thing, I guess? So how people...
Yeah, deadlines are very important for people with ADHD. A client of mine had this amazing boss who kept going, it's okay, get it to me when you want. And we went back to her boss and said, no, you've actually got to be stricter. You've got to give me actual deadlines and that are reasonable, but that's what helps me get stuff done. I can't do things when you say, it's okay, I'm here to support you. The deadlines help. Absolutely.
So something that my friend was talking about was they get into cycles.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll really focus on something for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll just drop. Interest will just drop.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep that focus, I guess?
Okay. So there's a couple of bits of information missing that I need to be able to answer faithfully. But let's just talk about briefly what might be happening. So there might be her type of ADHD might be the hyperfocus style.
I think it might be the hyperfocus one.
Right. So hyperfocus is when nothing else matters and that's the only thing you are interested in doing right now. And the whole world just falls away from your attention. And this is the only thing. And where that gets into difficulty for people, especially on the organisation front, is that they go down rabbit holes and they keep finding more and more rabbit holes to go down. So what they think they're achieving, in a short amount of time ends up being 5-6 hours and they don't even see the passing of time. So that becomes the issue, is the time spent going down the rabbit holes. Where it's a special area of interest and they've got great hyper-focus on that because that is what they're studying or what's important to them, but then lose interest, again, I need more information, but what could be happening is distraction in one of those rabbit holes. So they found something interesting in a rabbit hole and it's actually taken them way off in this direction, not in the area of focus. So that's distractibility then, which is different again.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that have helped some of my clients, again, it's all unique. So I'm just giving things out that have helped people, is we actually put cues into their thought processes and this takes practice, of noticing when I'm going that way. So noticing possibly even a bodily sensation that happens when that distractibility happens. So you get the signal physically to go, you're going off track now, so that you can bring yourself back. It's a bit like mindfulness, So we build those things into maybe the physical body sensation, we also can build in actual time-based alerts and making sure that they're doing a bit more like the Pomodoro technique, which is 20 minutes on a task and then, 3 to 5 minutes off task and then come back again. So that can help bring you back to that focus area. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's happening because I need more information, but that's a couple of things that might be happening and a couple of ways to.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to bang on about this. Again, if she had really visually, clearly up on the wall, whatever is her strength, visual reminder of what's most important to her, why am I doing this? That will be the cue to go, oh, that's right. I want to go back to focusing on that part.
So they also suggested some tools that they use to keep themselves organized. So I've already mentioned the boxes that they use, and they also have a timer box where they put their phone so they can't access their phone for an hour.
Great.
But are there some
yes,
other
I know those.
But they were saying that they had to find a lot of these tools on their own. And I guess, as you were mentioning, there are many different ways that people, I guess,
experience ADHD.
Yeah, so one size isn't going to fit all. But do you have some tools that people can use that you recommend?
Yes, absolutely. Time Timer. It's a free app. It's what many people with ADHD don't realise is that they're unaware of the passing of time. They don't experience time the way a regular non-neurodiverse brain does. So to see the passing of time in a visual way is so helpful. So the time timer is a clock, and you set it to how much time you want to spend doing a task or how much time you want to spend off a task. And it shows this big red wedge of that time, and the wedge goes down from red to white to finishing. So it works brilliantly for kids, it works brilliantly for adults, works brilliantly for everyone. So time timer. And even the other tool I absolutely use is a digital smartwatch, because you can have your time timer on there. One thing that's very common with a lot of my clients is they ignore audio alerts because that's not their strength. They're more visual or more tactile. So what the watch does is, instead of audible, which you can just switch off and ignore because it's very momentary, audible alerts, this taps you. So it's haptic. And I don't know about you, but when was the last time someone tapped you on the shoulder and you ignored it?
I think I have to
Never.
do something about it. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why it works. So definitely, I prefer the iWatch, but lots of others do it. The Apple Watch. So they're very much two major tools I pretty much recommend to everybody, because both very simple and very, very effective, and go across all different types of strengths and modalities.
So is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Gosh, where would we start, Gabriella? I guess one of the things that's maybe unique, or actually it's not maybe unique, is very unique that we are doing here in Perth at Outside the Box is I've included a therapy dog in my sessions with in-person clients. for people with ADHD, and that has been amazing. He is amazing, the little guy. He's very, very connected to humans, and he loves it when the clients come, and he knows his role straight away. That chair just behind me on this side. As soon as they come in the door, he's in that chair waiting for them to sit down, and he sits in their lap while we start the conversations about what it is that we're addressing that day, and what we're trying to solve or discover. And he just creates a really wonderful sense of calm for people. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but and many of your listeners would definitely be aware that anxiety is one of the most common comorbidities with ADHD. So where we can lower that anxiety or lower overwhelm in our conversations around disorganization, we can get a lot further with our sessions. So that's his role. And there's some amazing research out about the role of animals in therapy. And so he's probably the world's first organising ADHD therapy dog. So he's pretty special.
What's his name?
His name's Cosmo.
Cosmo.
Yeah.
Could you send a photo to us?
Yeah, I definitely will. I'll send you a photo.
Yeah, and I'll put it up somewhere.
Yeah, he's absolutely gorgeous. Doesn't help him taking all the attention, but one of the things I recently learnt was the way dogs' eyes. They have the same little muscles we do in the inside of the eyebrow here. So when they give those puppy dog eyes, the puppy dog eyes, that's using those muscles. And not all animals have that muscle. And that's why there is such a strong connection with humans and dogs. But he does that. He'll sit and face the client, and he stares into their eyes. And for the first few minutes, I might not get even a word out of the client because he just grabs their attention, and they just stare into each other's eyes. Now, what the scientists have discovered is that is the same response is happening there as it does with babies when they're bonding with their mother. So there's a release. This staring into this puppy dog's eyes and back again is releasing oxytocin. It's that bonding hormone. So there's something really special happening. So the client's feeling so much more relaxed and connected to him and what we're doing. And that's beside the fact of we know that stroking fur lowers our cortisol levels as well. Can lower your cortisol levels up to 50%. Now, for people with ADHD that are, can be quite tense, that is such a benefit for the coaching process that I do with them. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Wow, yeah. I think my cat does that too. Just sits on my face and stares me in the face. It's such a lovely feeling.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Really amazing.
Yeah. So I think we already talked about, I think we've really hit all the practice habit questions that we had.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless there's anything you'd like to particularly, talk about.
There's one little thing I didn't.
Yeah.
I sort of mentioned it once, is common challenges with being organised for ADHD is that what I find is many people with ADHD make systems too complex because they think if it's more detailed, it has more value. whereas it's actually the opposite. And that most ADHD people are searching for answers to their problem all the time. And they go out and try that system, buy that tool to fix the problem. But what is not happening is they're not understanding that does this tool, does this system actually cater to their strengths? And sometimes those things that they are attracted to because they know that that's their weakness. So they're using the opposite thing that's going to work for them. And I've sort of coined a bit of a phrase, a terminology in my own mind, not anyone else's, for this, that this constant trying leads to organisation attempt fatigue. They just give up because they've tried over and over and over and never had any success. And it's the two key things that haven't been addressed is why, not because they can't be organised. So, it's this fatigue of being really disheartened and feeling at a hopeless loss of how to move forward and getting better organised. And a big reason why I went into this area of specialty, because there's such a need for this understanding, and the rewards are massive. That makes it really exciting.
Do you find that after you go in and help people, do they keep it up?
So that's the whole premise for my process with my clients, is that I'm not there so you have to call me back because everything falls apart. I'm more than happy to, but the premise is that I'm empowering you with the tools to be organised. And it's a little bit it's very much why I chose the business name I did, is that organising doesn't happen by putting things in boxes. It happens outside the box. Organisation happens in here. It doesn't happen in your space. That is the result of what's happening in here, in the brain, in the mind, in your thoughts. And so taking that process of understanding your true motivations, you're getting very clear on the goal that you're going to, then adding on top of that, though, understanding who you are, what are your strengths, and putting in strategies that match all of those things has a much more likelihood of you continuing to be able to continue the strategies and continue the processes that keep you organised. And, we all know life happens and can derail us. So it can happen that, something significant happens and everything falls apart. Classic one is you move house. Then all your organisation strategies might change. And that takes a whole recalibration. But the tools like the habit stacking tool, that client says she can never make a habit, has a tool now. She knows how to make a habit stacking tool for whatever it is that she needs to put into place. So that, yes, you will, if you take on the strategies in the way that suits you, yes. And there are the big things which we haven't talked about so far that underlie all of this is adequate sleep and taking care of yourself. If those two things aren't happening, then you can't organise yourself anyway.
I think that's true for everyone.
Correct.
Yeah.
True for everybody. Yeah, sleep is massively important. And it's a struggle for people with ADHD to get the quality sleep they need. So it's something we always address.
How do you address it?
So something we haven't talked about a little bit is routines. Now, routines are really important to staying organized, but they're also one of the big challenges for everyone with ADHD, pretty much. Let's face it, it's a challenge for just everybody, keeping routines. So, we look at routines and establishing routines in a way that doesn't feel rigid and constraining, that matches your life, that enables you to still do what you want to do in your day-to-day, but works towards that, enough rest, enough sleep aspect, taking care of yourself aspect, because most of us will leave those things as the last importance, especially for those people I find who have children. They put all the children needs first and their own last, and it's just such a cliche now, but it really is about the mother putting her oxygen mask on first. If she's not getting enough sleep, she can't do everything for the family and the children. So once we change perspectives around that, then we're able to put those routines in place that support you to be able to then do the rest of the things you want to do in life. So we always normally start with, what's your bedtime routine like? So most people will start routines from the morning, but it's actually the nighttime that matters. And then you can go through the rest of the routines for the day.
How do you improve their routines? Like, is there a sort of a set formula or something that you recommend you do?
Yeah. I try not to do set formulas at all, Gabriella, ever.
I said that and I was like, I don't think you would say that, but
Yeah. You're getting to know me. But there is a few things that I use to try and gather the information, so then we can create the routine. So we use a sort of a weekly route worksheet that I've created over many, many years, that helps people plot what's important in their week, what has to happen in their week, and the things that we like to happen in our week. And when they go in there, we get a very, very clear picture. You know how I was saying before, it would be really good if we could be those TV shows and empty the whole house and see that we have 50 calculators. It's the same thing. If we get everything from your week and we actually write it in a table. I call it the container of the week. And if that container is spilling over with things you have to do, then something's not working and we have to change something. So it gives a really good picture of what has to be decluttered out of your time schedule, gets you focused in on what's really important. And then we can start shuffling things around to make it work more seamlessly. So you're not doing things in a way that works against your natural circadian rhythms. We talked about that when when we were chit-chatting. We all have our own circadian rhythms, and not all of us are morning people. So let's take that into account. Let's not try and say, there's so much praise out there for morning people. There's no praise for nighttime people. Why? That's ridiculous. So we work with all of those things to get a map. It's really a map of this container, so that things feel as though you have a more of that agency, that control over what's happening in a week. And I find that very effective. Implementing that routine is very individual, and that depends on the person.
Very interesting.
Oh.
Thinking about my own routine now. That's it.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. Might have to come back and do a second episode.
We might do. Yeah, no, it's really good to chat to you.
Great. Yeah. I've definitely learnt a lot. And yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast. I've definitely learnt a lot about, I think, how I can, organize my life a bit better. And also, yeah, I think we've all answered some of my friends' questions as well,
Cool.
which is
Excellent.
something that I wanted to get out of this podcast.
She can always
And
call.
yeah, exactly. And so thank you for joining.
You're
And it was great to
welcome.
speak to you.
It was really
Thank
great
you.
to be here. So thanks so much.
Thank you. You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organisation Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and any other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating, sharing, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people to find it so we can grow and continue to bring you quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website, ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Joustra, and thanks for tuning in.